Okay, good. Then, hello everybody in this afternoon here from Austria, from Eisenstadt. Welcome to the masterclass, online masterclass on Burgenland wines. Thanks for joining. It's a real pleasure sharing my wines with you here. This masterclass is intended to give you a brief overview about Burgenland, about the area, the different regions we are in, the different wine styles we're producing. So we are looking forward to taste 17 wines together, and all of you should have got the wines. So we managed to get it out of Austria to Poland. And looking very much forward to have quite new experiences and great tastes in the next, let's say, 1.5, maximum 2 hours we're going to spend. If you do have any questions in the meantime, please just write it in the chat. I will have one eye on the chat and answer it accordingly. So please feel free to ask anytime during my presentation here. So, my name is Georg Schweitzer. I'm the Managing Director of Wein Burgenland. Wein Burgenland is the marketing board for the wines from Burgenland. So let's say it's the regional body of the Austrian wine marketing board, just being responsible for Burgenland wines. And we are running a lot of marketing events, advertisements and promotions for the wines of Burgenland from north to the south for all our wine producers we do have. And actually these are quite a lot. So wine producing companies are about 3,300 in Burgenland area. And the ones who are really visible on the market are counting up to almost 1,000. So it's quite a lot and different styles of wine. But before we do that, let's go a little bit to the figures. Maybe I just go one slide back, sorry for that, but on this picture you can see the landscape of Burgenland in the northern area. So in the back of the here in the back you can see a lake. This lake is called Lake of Neusiedl, which is the second biggest lake without any supporting channel, so just feed it by rain. And this is an important factor for the climate here, especially in the north parts of Burgenland, but also in the middle part of Burgenland. So this lake stores the warmth during the day and releases it again during the night time, which really enables the grapes to become ripe. And this area, Burgenland, is the warmest area within Austria. So this is the reason why we have a lot of red wine compared to the rest of the Austrian wine producing regions where white wine is the majority. So looking on some figures, Burgenland on the lower left part of the slide, you can see the map of Austria. Burgenland is in the far east from Austria, bordering to Hungary. The main border is going to Hungary. In the very southern part, touching Slovenia, and in the very northern part, touching Slovakia. So these are our borderlines. We are splitting up in altogether about 13,800 hectares of vineyards, out of roughly 46,000 hectares all over Austria. So we are roughly 1/3 of all the area of wine producing regions in Austria. And different to the rest of Austria, about 8,000 hectares are planted with red wine. So this is Zweigelt, Blaufränkisch, St. Laurent, Pinot Noir. And 5,800 hectares are planted with white wine, which is mainly still Grüner Veltliner, which is the majority white grape variety in Austria, as you know for sure, but just closely followed. It's just like 50 or 60 hectares of difference by a variety called Welsch Riesling, which you know quite well as well. I know because it's a former monarchy grape variety as well, and it's grown in Hungary, in Croatia, in Slovenia, even in Poland. Somewhere I found some Welsch Riesling. So all about of this. We do produce about 60 million liters of wine a year on average. all over Austria, we are producing about 240 million liters of wine a year. So we are producing a little bit less than 1/3. So 1/3 of the area producing less than 1/3 of the wine means our average yield per hectare is lower compared to the rest of Austria. But this is mainly related to the red wine production, which is normally a little bit lower in yield size. We split up from the north to the south in currently 5+1 regions. So the most northern region is the region of Neusiedlersee. So we talk about the east part or the east border to the lake of Neusiedl, which is called Neusiedlersee. It's quite flat land, and from the climate point of view, we do get a lot of warm air from Hungary, so it's coming from the east side. A lot of warm air, a lot of dry air. So let's say the maximum temperature we reach in this area during summertime can go up to 40 degrees of Celsius, so 40. In wintertime, it can go down to -15, -20 degrees of Celsius. And the average rain rate, if we are lucky, like 2020, which was a good year in terms of rain, especially during harvest time, we talk about 400 to 500 millimeters a year. In very dry years, like 2015 or 2003, we talked about 200 millimeters of rain. But what does this mean? As we are a warm climate and we have a low rain rate, the wines from the area of Neusiedlersee are always a little bit more broader, more heavier, having more touch, but they do have a lot of fruitiness, a touch of higher alcohol, because the ripeness level of the grapes is really, really high. And in this area, this is normally the area where the first grapes are harvested in Austria in a new vintage. The next region is down here on the west side of the lake. It's called Leiterberg. The region main feature is the mountain range called Leiterberg. Yeah, we call it mountain range, or our western guys in Austria from Tyrol and Salzburg and Vorarlberg, they're just laughing when we are talking about a mountain range, because the maximum height is about 450 meters above sea, but for us it's still a mountain. And a lot of vineyards are on the slopes on this Leiterberg and producing very, very good wines. The climate is almost the same, except it's a little bit cooler due to the higher altitude of the Leiterberg range compared to the lake. A very young region, going a little bit further down, is a region called Rosalia. We will see later on a slide on this one. It's a new region since 2018, producing red wine, white wine, as well as, this is the specialty of this region, rosé wines. They have got their own DSC on rosé here. The other region, which is just following, which was the second DSC in Austria, is the region of Burgenland. This is a clear red wine region. A lot of Blaufränkisch is grown there, and it's as well called Blaufränkisch land, because more than 55% of plantings are done with Blaufränkisch. And in the very south, we have the region of Eisenberg, which is down here. The difference is not on the variety, because we talk about Blaufränkisch and Welsh Riesling mainly, but it's on the climate. In the north, I told you, we are really warm, we are really dry. The more we go down further south, the more cooler it's going to be, and the more wet and rainy it's going to be. So when we talk about 400, 500 millimeters of rain in the north, in the Neusiedlersee area, then we talk about let's say 1000 millimeters in Eisenberg area. So this is the reason why in this lower part of Austria, the wines having a little bit more acidity, are a little touch leaner, and more mineralic compared to the Lake of Neusiedl on the eastern side of the wines. So the difference on the climate is from north to south. The north is really warm, the south is a little bit cooler. From the rain point of view, the north is dry, and it's becoming more wet going further down to the south. From the vineyard size, Neusiedlersee is by far the biggest region, covering 58 up to 60% of the vineyard plantings. Region followed by Leiterberg and Rosalia together, then Mittelburgenland and Eisenberg. The Eisenberg region is the smallest region in Burgenland, although having their own DSC. And in a nutshell, now touching the regions in a little bit more detail, the region of Neusiedlersee, we call the climate Pannonian. This is exactly what I told you before, very hot, very dry. And the lake of Neusiedl is really defining the climate. And the lake of Neusiedl is responsible for, let's say, one of the most secrets of this area compared to international style. We talk about sweet wine. So the lake of Neusiedl is the guarantee for having botrytis every year, at least up to now. Let's see how it's going to continue once the climate is changing. But this year, the botrytis harvest is currently ongoing, and it looks really, really good to have a lot of Ausbruch, a lot of Trockenbeerenauslesen this year in the cellars, which we might enjoy maybe late next year or even the year after in 22. But looking forward to this vintage. Just talking about vintage, roughly 2019, which is the vintage which is currently on the marketplace for the white wines, some red wines already. 2019 has been a very, very good vintage. We call it again, it's the vintage of the decade, as all the vintages ending on 9 since 1949, having had the factor of being the vintage of the decade. 2020, in terms of quality, really, really good. Looks really promising. In terms of quantity, we might get maybe 10% lower yield compared to 2019 or compared to an average year, which is okay. The good thing here is that especially on the red grapes, the berries are much smaller and the skins are much thicker. So we are expecting a lot of fruitiness, a lot of ripe tannins in the especially Blaufränkisch wines. So looking forward for vintages which can hold on for years and decades. From the varieties point of view, in the region of Neusiedlersee, of course, we do have Grüne Veltliner as the most dominant one, but just closely followed by Welsch Riesling. Then we call it the Burgundian varieties, playing an important role there, although importance meaning roughly 5% of the general acreage. We do the planting here. Weißburgunder is the German synonym for Pinot Blanc. It's the same thing. Then Chardonnay. Chardonnay looks to be one of the booming white wine varieties in this region, especially because all the new plantings, or the biggest portion of the new plantings, are Chardonnay right now. Another variety which you might not have heard about is called Bouvet. Bouvet is one of the most earliest ripening varieties, and it's mainly used for Sturm in Austria. So Sturm is the drink you produce when you harvest the grapes. You press the grapes, you get the must out of there, and then the must starts fermenting. And from this timing onwards, from the fermentation start to almost fermentation end, the product is called Sturm. It's quite cloudy and it's funny to drink, and a lot of Austrians are drinking this. And Bouvet this year, the harvest was done on 10th of August. The year before, well, let's say 2018, which was a really hot year, the harvest on Bouvet for Sturm was done end of July. Compared to 25, 30 years back, this harvest was like 1 month later. So the climate change is coming here as well. We can see it. Variety Semling 88, Semling 88 is called Scheurebe. That's the very same variety. An important variety for sweet wines, and we're going to have one to taste today in the last flight, in the sweet wine flight. The big advantage on Semling 88, the same with Welsch Riesling, by the way, is even with botrytis, even with very, very high ripeness levels, so a lot of sugar in the grapes or in the must, the acidity is still here. and acidity is one of the most important factors for sweet wines for getting them into balance. On the red side, we have the variety of Zweigelt, which is an indigenous Austrian grape variety. It's a cross done between Blaufränkisch and St. Laurent, dating back to 1922 from Mr. Zweigelt. So it's the family name of the guy who gave the name to the variety. And Zweigelt is the major red grape variety in Austria, but especially in the region of Neusiedlersee, because we've got the Neusiedlersee DAC. DAC stands for Districtus Austria Controllatus, which is the origin-based system in Austria compared to the Appellation Contrôlée in France, or the DUC or DUCG in Italy. So it's the same concept in principle, at least. And the Neusiedlersee DAC is based on Zweigelt. So 85% of a Neusiedlersee DAC wine has to be Zweigelt as variety. Then we've got Blaufränkisch, another, we call it indigenous grape variety from Austria. Actually, the origin lies in Slovenia, but at that time it belonged to Austria, which was back in 1750 roughly. And Blaufränkisch, compared to Zweigelt, is the more we call it masculine grape variety, because Zweigelt, from the style point of view, is a lot of fruit, is quite smooth tannins, is a moderate acidity, and very good, easy drinkability. Blaufränkisch, on the other hand, is a variety maybe not having that much color, but having a lot of tannins, can be, if it's unripe, really grippy tannins. A lot of acidity is there, and Blaufränkisch does have an affinity to oak. So French oak barrels, brick barrels are perfectly fine for this variety. And Blaufränkisch right now, the international guys like Chances Robinson, Steven Spurrier, even Robert Barker has been saying Blaufränkisch is the most quality red grape variety from Austria, and we will see a lot more internationally because it delivers quality. It can be long-lasting, up to 30, 40 years, if it's a great wine, of course. So it's considered to be that quality red grape variety. And then we've got St. Laurent, again an indigenous grape variety from Austria, which is somehow belonging to the Pinot Noir family. The big difference to Pinot Noir is we've got a lot of color, we've got quite full and fleshy tannins on this wine, and we've got a moderate acidity compared to Pinot Noir. The good thing on St. Laurent, and this is one feature which might be really, really good on the long run, thinking about the climate change, the ripeness stops automatically at the alcohol level of about 13, maybe maximum 13.5%. So you will not see, under the current circumstances, any St. Laurent which does have more than 13.5% of ABV of alcohol in the wine. The soils here, you can see on the lower side, are mainly, loam soils, so it's clay, it's black earth, it's sand or gravel. Again, it's really quite good, supporting the growing of the varieties, the growing of the grapes. There's a lot of nutrients in there, no problem. The sandy and the gravel soils support the fruitiness and deliver a very, very good drainage for the water, which is quite well distributed via the Lake of Neusiedl in this area. So if we now switch to the next region, to Leiterberg, the climate, as I said before, is almost the same, a little bit cooler because the winds are going during nighttime up the hills, up the slopes. The big difference here is you can see it on the soils. We talk about mica schist, shell limestone, and Leiterkalk. And if you talk about Leiterberg DSC, we do have two versions of Leiterberg DSC existing, a white one and a red one. The red one is based on pure Blaufränkisch. Hopefully in 1 month from now, when the final law is signed by the ministry. But the white Leiterberg can be made out of Grüner Veltliner, out of Weißburgunder or Chardonnay, or out of Neuburger. It can be a blend, it can be single varietal, whatever it is. But the red Leiterberg as well as the white Leiterberg, they do have in common one feature on the taste, which is called minerality. And this minerality comes from the mica schist, the limestone, the Leiterkalk in the soils, which is the big differentiator to the Lake of Neusiedl area, to the Neusiedlers area. We're going to taste the Leiterberg today as well. The grape varieties are almost the same. We've got some special ones. Maybe you know Furmint from Hungary. So this is a variety which comes from Hungary, mainly grown in the area of Rust for Ausbruch. Then a second one, an Austrian indigenous grape variety again, Neuburger. Neuburger is a white variety with low amount of flavor, a very thick skin, a very fleshy inside of the skin, so it's hard to work with. That's the reason why the number of wines is not that big out there, but they're really, really good wines and they can age quite well. On the red side, it's again Blaufränkisch Zweigelt, and the speciality, mainly due to the soils, of course, the Leiterkalk especially, and the mica schist is very suitable for Pinot Noir on this area. Going down to the, there was one slide too much. Going further down to the Rosalia area, still we talk about Pannonian climate. So here on this slide you see still the Leiterberg area. So we just go a little bit southwest in this area. It's all about around the city of Mattersburg. The soil type is almost the same like on the Leiterberg, but from the left side, so from the western side here, there's a lot of cool air coming from the Alps. Yeah? So that the Leiterberg range is considered to be the eastern ending of the Alps. And the difference here in the Rosalia is it's going to be much cooler, and there's more or less in the soil type. So therefore, the wines from Rosalia region will be a little bit more fleshy, a little bit more deeper than the ones from Leiterberg, and having a lower level of minerality. The varieties are quite the same, and the Rosalia DAC, just the normal one, is based on either Blaufränkisch or Zweigelt, and the speciality of Rosalia DAC Rosé, which can be done out of any red grape variety permitted under the Austrian quality wine law. Which is the only Rosé DAC we have in Austria right now. Another region, Mittelburgenland, as said before, it has been the second region back to 2005, having got the DAC status. Varieties, it's mainly Blaufränkisch. So more than 55% of these varieties are planted as Blaufränkisch. The main area on Mittelburgenland is here up in the northeast and down here, the little one. So in the northeast there are cities, and some people of you might know this, called Deutschkreuz, Horizon or Neckenmarkt. And in the south here, this is the region of Lutzmannsburg. All of them are very well known for the red wines, especially for the Blaufränkisch, and the international blends with Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon, some Syrah and some Cabernet Franc is there as well. What we don't see on this picture, but I want to mention it, here from the north, you can't see it on this picture, but here ending is the Lake of Neusiedl. So the Lake of Neusiedl does have an influence on this area in terms of temperature, and some of the slopes are oriented to the north or to the northeast, and this is possible because of the lake, because the lake gives the warmth, gives the warm air during nighttime, and even north-facing slopes will deliver a very good quality wine in this area. Beside the red varieties, we do have still Grüner Veltliner and Welschriesling, and this is becoming much more popular right now. And the good thing on the Mittelburgenland is, you can see down here on the slide, 37% of all the wines planted out there are older than 30 years. So there's a lot of old wines in the Mittelburgenland area existing. There is no definition by law what old wines mean, but in Austria in general, if you talk about old wines, we refer to wines which are more than 30 years of age. The soil is special here in Mittelburgenland. It's about lime, it's about black earth or black soil, and löss. So these sites, they normally don't have any problem with water. So if all of the rest is in Austria is suffering about water supply, dry farming, whatsoever, Mittelburgenland area normally is the area where still a lot of water is available in the soil for the wines. So there was no, or it's just little dryness stress in the very warm years which we had in the past. This year, as said before, it looks much better. And then going down to the south, a region which was used to be called Südburgenland, which is now called Eisenberg, because the Eisenberg is the dominating hill or mountain in this area. The main wine growing here, and you see it on the left, on the right hand side on the left picture, is actually here in Eisenberg and Deutschschützen. Very famous for their Welsh Riesling and for their Blaufränkisch wines. Up here in the north, a small community, Rechnitz. It's just below the highest mountain in Burgenland area, which is called Schrebenstein, going up to almost 900 meters above sea height. So there's a lot of Welsh Riesling and some Welsh Riesling done in the, orange style, raw wine style, natural wine style, which is really interesting to see. And here down in the south, Heiligenbrunn and Moschendorf, a specialty from Austria called Uhudler. You might have heard about this wine. In difference to all the other wines which are planted in Austria, the Uhudler is based on an American variety, so they are not crafted. They are not having an American rootstock, but they have their rootstock in one go, so the roots are of the same type as the fruit up there. This is a special thing which is normally not allowed in Austria to produce quality wine, and therefore this wine produced as a Uhudler is not called quality wine, but it's called fruit wine, because with fruit wine you are allowed to plant American roots. So this is the story behind. As said before, it's much more rain rate in this area. You can see it on the left hand side. We call it Illyrian influence, which mainly stands for the rain comes from the Adriatic Sea normally. The varieties are Welsh Riesling being the dominant one, a portion of Grüne Veltliner always here, but Blaufränkisch being the majority on the red side, and some Zweigl. The big difference here on the Blaufränkisch compared to the north is in the soil type, because the name Eisenberg, if I would translate it, it would mean iron mountain, is due to the high iron content in the soil. So when you are there and you have a look on the Eisenberg or even on Deutschschützen on some slopes and some vineyards, you can see a red shadow in the soil, which is rust. So it's the iron together with water, together with oxygen is producing rust, and this you really can see. And this impression of minerality really transfers to the wines. And the Blaufränkisch from the south is a little bit more leaner, a little bit even more mineralic compared to the ones from Leiterberg. And mostly on the alcohol side, maybe like 12.5 up to 13.5, maximum 14. Whereas Mittelburgenland, for example, the Blaufränkisch Mittelburgenland DSC reserve category can easily go up to 14.5, 15, 15.5 ABV. Of course, the trend now is going down again with alcohol, and a lot of people are playing a lot of good things in the vineyard. So canopy management, treatment of the wine is changing. So the alcohol levels are going down again, meaning the sugar ripeness level is not that high anymore, but the flavor ripeness on the grapes is still here, or is even better than compared to 15 years before when we just looked on the sugar ripeness. So this is in a really nutshell about the Burgenland from the north to the south. What I did not mention here, so I mentioned the Neusiedlersee DRC, which is based on Zweigl. I mentioned the Leiterberg DSC, which on the white side is based on Grüne Veltliner, Chardonnay, Weißburgunder or Pinot Blanc, and Neuburger. On the red side of Blaufränkisch, I mentioned the Rosalia DSC based on Blaufränkisch or Zweigelt or the Rosé version. I mentioned the Mittelburgenland DSC, which is purely Blaufränkisch, and the Eisenberg DSC, which is Blaufränkisch again. And just since a couple of days, I even have to say, we've got a new DSC on board. It's called Ruster Ausbruch DSC. So it's a single DSC for the sweet wine of the city of Rust, which is traditionally called Ausbruch. According to the wine law, the Ausbruch is the very same as a Trockenbeerenauslese, so it has to have at least 30 degrees of, we call it Klosterneuburger Mostwaage, meaning 300 grams of sugar per kilogram of must when the harvest is ongoing. And only the city of Rust is allowed to call it Ruster Ausbruch DSC. So this is the newest development on the DSC side in Burgenland. In Austria, and it's the youngest DSC all over Austria right now. Yeah, up to now, do you have any questions? If so, please put it into the chat and I will try to answer. Otherwise, I would suggest that we can start with the tasting of our 17 wines we have in front of us. And I hope everybody of you does have the wines as well, because an online tasting, doing on a dry base, is not as much fun as doing it with the real, let's say, liquid in the glass in front of you. Good. So what I try to do here is just to put together really the variety of different wine styles of Burgenland, from north to the south, from white to red to sweet, everything included, and just to make a topic about the flights. So flight number 1 is consisting of 2 Chardonnays and 2 Austrians, so indigenous grape varieties. And I'm now going to pour all 4 wines in my glasses here, and then we will discuss these wines. So, good. Hope that everybody of you is having the wines in the glass. So let's start with the first wine. A winery, Mr. Kracher. You for sure know Mr. Kracher. He's one of he's the sweet winemaker of Austria. He became quite a lot of times, I think it was 9 times on a row, sweet winemaker of the year in London. Yeah, but Mr. Kracher is doing dry wines as well. And this is the reason why I want to show you this dry wine from the winery Kracher. It's the Welsch Riesling 2019. So it's the recent vintage, which is on the marketplace. And Welsch Riesling in Burgenland is really one, or if not to say that major white wine variety we have. Of course, Grüne Veltliner, we do have more plantings out there, but there's a lot of more Grüne Veltliner in the rest of Austria. So this is the reason why we as Burgenland don't put this on our flag, because a lot of others are doing it. But Welsch Riesling is the most important white wine variety for Burgenland area, on the dry side as well as on the sweet side, as mentioned before. So with Welsch Riesling, you can do dry wines, half sweet wines, everything is possible. You can do quite lean, quite fruity, quite easygoing wines on the dry side, but you can do quite sophisticated wines as well, with depth, with balance, with structure. And this Welsch Riesling in this glass, I think, if you smell in there, and a lot of Welsch Riesling you might know from Austria, which is easygoing, doesn't smell that much because it's not a really outspoken variety. But this one, first of all, the light here in this room is not that good, but it does have a touch of golden color already, although it's 2019, so still young. But in the nose, there's a lot of ripe fruit for me. There is apples, touch of citrus, floral aromas, fresh cutted grass aroma is there for me. And I got a touch of yeast or lees aging on this wine, which makes it a little bit more round and a little bit more robust in the nose to compare. So trying to taste this wine. So I always have to get the first sip down my throat just to synchronize me, and then I start tasting. Yeah, so when you get this wine on your palate, you see, first of all, it's a dry wine. It does have a very good, refreshing and balanced acidity on the side of the tongues. It gives you a little bit of warmth in the back in the finish. So this 13 to 5% of ABV is really sweetening quite well, and it's balancing. You get a very good balance due to the lees aging, which is broadening the impression of this wine on your palate, and ripe fruit character, ripe apples, yellow apples, a little touchy thing of herbal aromas together with some grassiness, even some pears, quite ripe pears I can feel now in the finish. And the finish as such is by far not short, as a lot of Welsh Rieslings do have from Burgenland. But this finish is for me a medium finish with a very, very good balance, very nice fruit appeal, and it does have a really good impression. So I want to do a second sip immediately on this Welsh Riesling. And for me, this is a perfect example what can be done with this variety compared to a lot of very clean, easygoing, drinkable Welsh Rieslings out there in the marketplace. And this is what Welsh Riesling stands for. And for me, one of the best examples to show what you can do with Welsh Riesling. Quite important, I think, is always the comparison or the combination with food. Welsh Riesling in Austria is considered to be a wine for the starters, for the salads. Of course, with this Welsh Riesling, which is a little bit more broad, a little bit more heavy, you can go for seafood. You can go for some traditional Austrian cuisine like Wiener Schnitzel, which would fit perfectly together with potato salad. I think this Welsh Riesling would be doing really, really fine. This Welsh Riesling didn't see any oak, yeah. So this is stainless steel. Maybe a portion of it was treated in big neutral oak barrels just to give the roundness and the robustness to this wine. But it's done for the fresh side. Of course, you can drink it right now, but for sure, another 2 to 3 years, this Welsh Riesling will have to go and will have a very good impression. The second wine in this flight is from the winery Bayer, Erbhof from Donauskirchen, which is, just I mentioned this not before, so Mr. Kracher in Ilmitz is in the region of Neusiedlersee, you know, the very first region I mentioned before. And Mr. Bayer, Erbhof Bayer, is from Donauskirchen. This is the region of Leiterberg. So here in the glass, we do have a Leiterberg DSC Grüne Veltliner 2019 as well. And as said before, the Leiterberg, per definition, should not be fruit. The fruit should not be up front. It should be more the mineralic approach. It should be working on structure. It should be working on balance. So let's see if this wine is really doing this, what the promise is telling you, seeing Leiterberg in the name. Yeah, nice, even more deeper golden color, partially golden color in the glass. In the nose, it's more, for me, the nose is moderate intensity on the nose. I've got very, very ripe fruits. A touch of exotic is for me in this wine. We got again the quite ripe yellow apple aromas. We even got again this typical yeastiness in this wine, which tells me again there was some release aging ongoing here. And what's quite important for me, everybody, if he hears Grüne Veltliner, and everybody who learned about Grüne Veltliner from Austria knows about Grüne Veltliner has to have some spiciness. Yeah, so I can't see any spiciness here. Why is that the case? Because this wine, Grüne Veltliner, you can see the ABV is 13.5%, and it's a special clone, of course. It's not a Grüne Veltliner due to the ripeness level, which shows the spiciness. So a lot of spiciness is visible in Grüne Veltliner, which are more leaner, which are more easygoing. But this is a Leiterberg DSC, therefore it's considered to be, we call it reserve category. So something for aging, something for laying down, something for drinking after 3, 4, 5, 6 years, for example. And at that ripeness level, a lot of Grüne Veltliner does not show the spiciness anymore. So taste this wine. This wine is, yeah, even drier than wine before from the impression. Acidity is for me more marked on this wine compared to the Welsh Riesling. A lot of citrus aroma in there. But as said before, I do have this creaminess on the middle palate on this wine. It's going a little bit broader in the back in the finish. In the finish, I do have a touch of spiciness. Here is the Grüne Veltliner, the typical flavor of Grüne Veltliner as well. We've got the very ripe yellow apple aromas in there. We got a touch of herbal aromas for me in this wine, plus a hint of exotic flavor as well. So let's say a touch of mango, a touch of what's the name in English? I'm missing now. It will come back anyhow. So for me, this is a more robust wine, a more demanding wine. But what I do have in the nose, and I do have as well on the palate on this wine, is a thing we call minerality, which should be the case in the Leiterberg. So when I talk about minerality, and I know we can discuss about if you can taste minerality or you cannot taste minerality, the common opinion is you cannot taste minerality. But if I use the word minerality, I think about flintstone, whetstones, earthiness, something like this. So this minerality, the naming of minerality for me is a summary for all these kind of impressions, which I really, really get in this Grüne Veltliner from the winery Bayer. And yeah, I like this Grüne Veltliner personally very much. It fits quite well to the Austrian kitchen again. And the interesting thing on this Grüne Veltliner, 75%, so 3 parts out of 4 are treated on stainless steel, and the rest, so 25%, is treated on used or seasoned 3rd, 4th, 5th fill oak barrique barrels, small ones. And these small ones, they are providing this roundness, this softness due to the oxygen working with the wine during the aging. And then it's put together, it's blended together and filled into the bottle. And yeah, this is the Leiterberg DSC, which I like very much because it's a little bit demanding on the palate, but it's the minerality, it's the spiciness, it's the fruitiness which comes together, combined in a very, very good balance in the moderate finish on this wine. So we have now 2 Austrian varieties, Welsh Riesling and Grüne Veltliner. Now we go to the international variety, Chardonnay Ried Steinriegel 2018 from the winery Gesellmann. Gesellmann is coming from Deutschkreuz, and this is now the region of Mittelburgenland. So we are even further down. You remember these loamy sites, these quite heavy soils there. So we expect to get a more heavier, more broader style of wine. And Chardonnay quite often in Austria is done in French oak barrels with some malolactic fermentation. So let's see how this one is showing up in the glass. Just one thing to mention, in case on an Austrian wine you see the word Ried, yeah, Ried stands for single vineyard. So once you see the word Ried on a label, the word after it, so Steinriegel in that case, is the name of the single vineyard where the grapes are coming from. So all the Chardonnay grapes for this wine are coming from the single vineyard Steinriegel. And the understanding here is, if there's a single vineyard on the label, it tells you we are on the top of the quality pyramid. Yeah. So the closer the geographical origin of the grapes is, the higher the quality should be. Just compare it in your mind with the Burgundian system, you know, on generic wines, village wines, Premier Cru wines, and Grand Cru wines. This is very same. So let's taste this wine again. Even more deeper golden color. Yeah, in the nose, once you smell it, you immediately get the oak treatment on this wine. We have a lot, and this is typical Chardonnay on a very ripe status. A lot of exotic flavor in there. We have mango, we have lychee, we have even bananas touch in there. We have a touch of yogurt, which might come from the malolactic fermentation. This wine has been going through, and again some yeast treatment. So I expect to get a full-bodied, quite broad wine with a lot of intensity and very good vibration on my palate in the mouth. So let's taste this. Yeah, so on the palate, it's exactly what I was thinking of this wine. It's a dry wine. We do have the oak integration very, very well done. So it looks like that this wine has been even fermented in oak barrels because of the integration of the oak. You get this vanilla touch, you get a little bit of coconut in there. So maybe there was some American oak involved in this wine. I would need to check with the winery here. Then the lees aging make the middle palate really round and buffered. So I think there has been some lees steering done as well, so batonnage partially on this wine. For me, this is a Chardonnay of an international style on a very high quality level, which really is enjoyable together with some more heavy food, which is done with cream, for example. So in Austria, there's quite often the tradition you add, we call it Schlagobers, the Germans call it Süße Sahne. Yeah. So it's a cream to the sauce to get it more creamy, so to say. And the very same I can see here in this very, very good Chardonnay Ried Steinriegel 2018. I would still give it another year or two to get the oak much more integrated. The body is here, the body is quite dense of this wine, and it does have the potential to integrate the oak even better than it is already right now. Yeah, so for me, this is a very, very good Chardonnay, showing the typical Chardonnay flavor in the international style, meaning very good oak integration and full-bodied wine, but by far not too heavy, so really drinkable, very nice done, well done, very good. 2018 has been a vintage which was really good in terms of quality and even better in terms of quantity. So in 2018, as said before, Austria does have on average about 2.4 million hectoliters of wine yearly production. And in 2018, we were up to 2.9 million hectoliters. And the ripeness level were even higher compared to the years before. So this was a abnormal year, so to say. Yeah, but in comparison, we've got another Chardonnay coming now from the winery Stiegelmar or Scholz. So from Golz region, which is again back to the north in the region of Neusiedlersee. It's vintage 2017, which was a good vintage as well. The The yield was quite normal, so we had about 2.3, 2.4 million hectoliters in here. The wines get a little bit more acidity, a little bit more freshness compared to 2018, because 2018 the harvest was like 3 weeks earlier because of the sugar ripeness, and the flavor ripeness was maybe not at that point like on 2017. So let's taste this wine. Again, quite nice color in this wine, the golden touch. Yeah, in the nose, there I can feel some oak as well, but not as intensive compared to the wine before. So this is a Chardonnay working more with the variety and lesser with the way of vinification has been done. And this is the good thing on Chardonnay. You can do everything. Just think about Chablis, yeah, and think about maybe Chambol Musigny, for example, in the Burgundy. You get from very lean, steely, mineral Chardonnays up to full-bodied, heavy, oaky Chardonnays. Everything is in there. The very same you can do here in Austria, of course. So quite a lot of fruit is there. I guess there was a lot of lime in the soil, because you get a touch of minerality. We've got a hint of spiciness. We got not that exotic fruit flavor like on the wine before, more the traditional Austrian fruits like apricots and apples, and maybe some strawberry aroma in there. A touch of lychee I can get now in this wine. Yeah, and as said before, a hint of oak. So I think this wine was aged in oak, but not fermented in oak compared to the wine before. Let's taste. Yeah, although, so the wine is dry again, acidity is really good integrated, it's lifting the wine. I've got the same fruit flavor as on the nose. For me, a little bit more demanding finish, because it delivers more freshness and more spice in the finish in the back. So maybe this wine has been done some cold soak before fermentation has begun, and kept on the lees for some time. But it's the very same alcohol level as the wine before, 13.5. But on the impression, on the palate point of view, for me it's a total difference. And this is mainly due to the way how the oak treatment for this wine was done compared to the wine before. As said, the wine before was fermented in oak and aged in oak. This wine, I guess, was mainly aged in oak. So, and the oak as such maybe was a kind of medium toasting or a medium minus toasting compared to the other wine, which even had some coconut aroma, which could be the American oak, for example. Yeah. So this is the treatment difference in terms of oak. This wine is a more fresh oriented Chardonnay, and the other one is a more full-bodied, deeper flavor, deeper balanced Chardonnay type. I think both of them are very fine, very well done, and it's a private, it's your personal decision which one you prefer. And quite often you prefer the one which fits better to the meal, and this is up to you and your choice of what you want to do. But fresh white wines from Austria, important of course is to serve them chilled. So we recommend serving temperature, let's say the Welsh Riesling in the very beginning, 9-10 degrees of Celsius, because it's warming up on its own anyhow in the glass. And the third, the Chardonnay, the more heavy one with the oak touch in there, maybe like 12 degrees of Celsius. It should not be more, because otherwise the wine is losing on their complexness and on their impression. Right. Good. So let's proceed to the second flight. And with this flight, I want to show you the difference for the variety Blaufränkisch from north to south. Of course, with a little bit other order. We start with the one from Rosalia, from the winery Fischer. Then we go to the Leiterberg from the winery Nera. I'm just pouring in parallel my glasses. Then we go to the Mittelburgenland, which should be, according to the theory, more dense, more healthy, more powerful from the impression point of view. And last but not least, we go down to the south, to the Eisenberg area with the winery Krutzler, and showing the minerality style of the wines. So, first one, Rosalia DAC Blaufränkisch 2018 from the winery Fischer from Stötterer. So this is exactly in the middle of Burgenland. The main city there is Mattersburg. Blaufränkisch, as said before, a lot of tannins, a lot of acidity compared to Zweigelt, for example. Let's see if this is the case here as well. Yeah. Looking on the color, we get a purple rim, hints of purple rim in the color. It's for me a quite deep color in the middle of the glass, more or less, hints of purple color, maybe touches of black in there. In the nose, quite nice nose. A lot of berry fruits, so it's blackberries, it's raspberries, it's even bilberries in there, maybe some cranberries as well. And this is one of the big differentiators to Zweigelt. Yeah, we will have Zweigelt later on. So Blaufränkisch is normally all about berries, yeah, sometimes sour cherries. Zweigelt is normally about cherries and sometimes about sour cherries. Yeah. Depending, of course, on where it's coming from and which clone is used. But here's a lot of this fruitiness in there. I got the I don't get that much of oak treatment there, so I guess it was done in a big neutral oak. Maybe just a portion of it has been done in a French oak barrel, but then it's a second, third, or fourth use. So we get this, I said, the berryness. And what's typically Blaufränkisch as well in this nose is the spiciness. Yeah, we will see it mainly on the Mittelburgenland Blaufränkisch, but there's a touch of spice there as well. Tasting. Yeah, so you can really taste what I mentioned before. It's a dry wine. Acidity is quite refreshing on this wine. The alcohol is quite good buffered. It's a medium-bodied wine with, again, the berryness on the palate. This fruitiness is there. In the finish, a touch of spiciness, quite elegant. A touch of minerality is there. So this might be a mixture from different sites, from different vineyards. In the Rosalia, because there are some sites which they do have limestone, and this tastes like a limestone soil in there. But it's not too full-bodied, it's not too heavy. The alcohol 13.5 is just about fine with this wine. So it's a nice, drinkable, going Blaufränkisch, which will fit to a lot of foods. So it's a very, very good combination in there. And for me, a classical example for a Blaufränkisch in a classical style on a high quality level with this wine. Not too fleshy, with structure, with minerality, but you have to work a little bit with this wine in your mouth. It's not just for easy drinking. It's something which demands a little bit of response. Yeah. If we compare this to the Leiterberg DSC, which is just, let's say, 25 kilometers to the north, Leiterberg DSC Blaufränkisch Riedfeurer, coming from the winery Nera aus Eisenstadt, so it's the region of Leiterberg, as said before. We can see that the color is almost the same style as the ones we had before. In the nose, yeah, I've got the minerality there already. So this wet stones, a little bit earthiness, which is typical for me for the Blaufränkisch. I've got a touch of tertiary aromas, so it might be, it's not that young as the wine before. It smells quite elegant with a lot of finesse in there. Even some cherries. I get now sour cherries in this wine. I've got herbal aromas. I got a black tea aroma, black leaf teas aromas there. Just from the nose, I would like to go with some steak with this wine, or Venice food, which is quite traditional right now in autumn time here in Austria. Tasting. Yeah, it's bone dry. It's a bone dry wine. Acidity is refreshing on this wine, which is typical for Blaufränkisch, as I told you before. And I'm not just looking on the figure here, 6.3 grams per liter for a red wine. This is really high acidity. The minerality is from the very front to the end on your palate. So there was a lot of limestone and Ried Feurer. Again, a single vineyard called Feurer is mainly dominated by limestone. Gives this touch of this minerality on your peel, on the tongues and on the teeth. It's a little bit working with your mouth. The fruitiness is there, but very, very nice, elegant finish and a very long length due to the freshness and the acidity in this wine. Yeah? So you see the difference between the Leiterberg DSC and the Rosalia DSC. The Rosalia DSC is a little bit more on the fruity side, yeah? And the Leiterberg DSC is mainly working on the balance, on the palate, on the minerality. The big difference here is again that the Leiterberg DSC, and especially this wine, is done in 500 liter oak barrels, so in smaller, not in barriques, but in smaller oak barrels, compared to the wine before, which was mainly in classic, either big neutral oak, so 3,000 liters or 2,000 liters, or even stainless steel, some portion of it. I guess it was the oak in there. But a lot of minerality, a lot of elegance, and a lot of long finish with a lot of finesse in this wine. Having had this elegance, this finesse, let's go to the Mittelburgenland DSC, which is again Blaufränkisch, yeah, from the winery Kerschbaum or from Horizon, which is one of the classical three cities, beside Lutzmersburg in the south, which is the fourth city. You can already see the alcohol is 14.5 on this wine, which is higher, but still acidity is 6 grams per liter. So there's a very good potential for Blaufränkisch grapes in this area. Looking on the color, for me, this is the deepest color compared to the other two wines we had. It's black in the middle and a very, very short rim. Although it's 2017, so it's the same as the Leiterberg before. Yeah, just smell in the glass. Yeah? It's a lot of earthiness, it's undergrowth, it's dark berries, it's blackberries, it's it's even leaves, black tea leaves. It's spice, yeah. There's white pepper spice for me in this wine. In the nose, there is oak in the nose for me. So again, this wine is treated with about let's say a 500 liter oak barrel. It has, due to the color and the flavor intensity, for me, it has been kept on the skins for quite some time, just to really get a lot of it out of the skins. Just taste. Yeah, again, this wine is bone dry. The tannins are much more, in a positive sense now, grippy. Yeah, so you can feel the tannins. It's not astringent as such, but it's really a tannin which is working with your mouth. So you have to work against a lot of fruit, quite deep, quite depth, but it's balanced. a lot of it's like a ball in your palate, which is not falling apart. Yeah, really keeping it together. The Ried Dürau, where this wine comes from, is actually, some consider it to be the best single vineyard of Horizon, and it's really heavy loam or clay soil in there. If you go there when it was rainy, you will have like 10 kilograms of mud on your shoes going out. It's really deep, and the grapes are very ripe with a lot of flavor in there. And this full-bodied style is really exactly what Mittelburgenland DSC is about. So if you look for a classical Mittelburgenland DSC Blaufränkisch, then you will have this as a kind of a benchmark compared to the rest. The interesting thing for me on this wine is in the finish. Yeah, you see it's a moderate plus finish on this wine, but we do have this spiciness. Yeah, we do have this animating spiciness, the fruitiness, which is coming back after some time. So it tells you, please go for a second sip, go for a second sip. And of course, if you think about some food, some dishes, we need to have really heavy food, like a steak with toasted aromas, for example, or beef or lamb we can go for. So this wine is really something for Blaufränkisch lover. And of course, due to the very depth body, to the very deep structure, this wine can age. So you can keep this wine for sure for another 15, 20, 25 years to come with no problem. It will keep on going, and it will be even more balanced over the time. The tannins, because they are ripe, yeah, the tannins will smoothen out, will be much more integrated into this wine. So drink this wine, let's say in 3, 4, 5 years from now, and then you will be really happy having this wine in your glass. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, I try to do a little bit slower. Just have the timing in mind, but I think we are quite good on timing. Yeah, that's okay. So now, having had this Mittelburgenland DSC, really heavy, broad, depth, balanced wine in front of us, we now go to the very south, to the Eisenberg DSC, to a winery from Mr. Krutzler, one of the most famous guys in Deutsch Schützen, with his Eisenberg DSC Reserve, Blaufränkisch 2015. 2015 was one of the best or very good vintages in the last century. So we consider 2009, just looking back a little bit, 2009 being very good. On the red side, 2012 as well. 2013, 15, 17, and 19, of course. These are the red wine vintages in Austria. So Eisenberg DSC Reserve. Once you see the word reserve together with DSC, it normally means that this wine is first of all of higher quality. Secondly, coming much later to the market compared to the wines without reserve. So normally 1.5, 2 years, depending on the winery later. So 2015 might be on the market in 2018, earliest, roughly. And by definition, by law, it's allowed that this wine is aged in French oak, and you can taste the French oak. So if the word reserve is not there, it would be just a normal Eisenberg DSC or normal Mittelburgenland DSC, then it's not allowed to have an oak taste on your palate. This is the big difference between non-reserve and reserve wines, beside the timing factor of coming into the market. So let's go for the Eisenberg DSC. The color, again, compared to the Mittelburgenland DSC, is not that deep anymore. There's a little bit more of purple in there, not that much of a black. Yeah, it's a purple because it's still quite young, even from the color, although it's a 4 or 5 years old wine in there, in the nose. yeah, we have more of these tertiary aromas already. So it's this, for me especially, these mushrooms, touch of undergrowth and earth, but still having these berries, the aromas, blackberries in there. Yeah, some raspberries I got in the nose. I got some balsamic notes, yeah, which might be this minerality, this metallic minerality coming from the Eisenberg DLC, which would be quite normal for a reserve, because I think that the grapes for this reserve are harvested end of September, mid of October, so quite late in the period of the growing season. On the taste, it's a dry wine, quite refreshing acidity, even a marked acidity on this wine. I do feel again this spiciness from the Blaufränkisch, which comes on top of me, but on the palate, I think this is now, and you can see that age really works with Blaufränkisch. This is now the most balanced wine out of this flight we have here. So all of the 4 wines are of perfect quality, are very, very nice, but from the drinkability point of view, I think this one is just about to be perfectly right now. 2015 to be drunk. We have the mixture between still some fruitiness flavors, these blackberries there. We have these balsamic notes, which I had in the nose as well. We do have this earthiness. We do have this undergrowth. We do have a touch of oak, which is really, really very well integrated into this wine. And yeah, so there was for sure some barrique oak in there with a medium toasting. You can feel these roasted aromas a little bit, but it's very, very well integrated on the whole palate of this wine together with the fruitiness. So here we talk about complexity. We've got different directions the wine is going, the wine is tasting, and the longer it keeps in your mouth, the more different styles, the more different flavors are coming up, which is a sign for quality. It's typical for Eisenberg. It has got this metallic minerality due to the acidity structure, which is special from there. And at least for me, right now, the best drinking Blaufränkisch. So let's wait on the other ones. They're all really, really good, but it depends very much on what you like and what you prefer. But all of them are of high quality, are really good references for the Blaufränkisch, and I think you could see the difference between a Blaufränkisch from the Rosalia, the Leiterberg, the Mittelburgenland, and the Südburgenland or Eisenberg region. Yeah, going from fruitiness to minerality to fullness to really powerful structure, going to more leaner and elegant structure on the Eisenberg DSC. Okay, but Blaufränkisch is not the only red grape variety we do have here in Burgenland. This is the reason why I called the next flight Diversity of Reds. So, and there has to be Zweigelt. Yeah, so I'm just cleaning my glasses and pouring the new wines while you do the very same on your side. While I'm pouring the Zweigelt I mentioned before, an indigenous Austrian grape variety. It's a cross between Blaufränkisch and St. Laurent. When it was crossed, it was considered to be a variety which can produce a very, very good yield, at least very good in the sense of that time, so meaning 20,000 kilograms per hectare or 25,000 kilograms per hectare. But nowadays, our wine law is giving the borderline at 10,000 kilograms per hectare, and they found if you really do a good pruning in the beginning of the year and keeping the yields on a lower level than this 15, 20, 25,000 kilograms, then the quality of the wine goes up immediately. And this is today the Zweigelt we have in our glasses, which are of really, really high quality. And the number one in the glass is a Neusiedler See DRC Reserve Zweigelt Ried Goldberg 2017. So again, it's a single vineyard Zweigelt coming from the vineyard Goldberg, which is one of the best known vineyards in Gols area. Gols belongs to the Neusiedler See. It's even a vineyard which is a little bit north sloping here on the north side of Gols. So if somebody was here already, if you go to Gols from Neusiedler am See, it's just before Gols on the left hand side. This is the Ried Goldberg. And the Neusiedler See DSC Reserve again stands for oak, French oak taste is very welcome on this wine. It's allowed, you can do, you don't have to, but you can do. And the grapes are harvested later compared to the normal Neusiedler See DSC. So, getting the first glass of our Zweigelt. The color, for me, it's a very nice, yeah, I would even go a little bit already in the direction of ruby color in my glass here, but I don't know how it looks in your glass. Again, it's this touch of purple rim in the glass. Yeah, in the nose, the first impression is what I just said before. It's a reserve wine, so we do feel the oak, the French oak, the roasted aromas in this glass, beside of dark cherries. Yeah, dark cherries. Then this typically when Zweigelt is going to be really ripe. Yeah, you always get this typical herbal aromas. We call it Hustenzucker sometimes. So it's meaning these herbs you use against your throat. When you have a illness, a throat illness, yeah, you use some herbs. This is the kind of flavor that Zweigelt is developing when it goes really, really ripe. Yeah, but the oak is there, so it must be new oak in this wine for, let's say, at least 1 year, I would guess. The fruitiness is beside the oak level here. And the herbiness, so a very good complexity on the nose. Let's taste. Yeah, so the wine is dry. Acidity, now compared to the Blaufränkisch before, is lower, but still this wine does have a moderate or medium acidity, which is really well integrated into this wine and supports the drinkability of this wine. The tannins, yeah, they're much smoother, they are rounder. Although there's a lot of oak tannins in there, we have this roasted aroma flavor, this coffee, this dark chocolate on the palate. But the tannins are not grippy. Yeah, they are really round. They are soft, and this is a typical feature of Zweigelt. Yeah, if you look for a red wine which is really rounded, soft, and good drinkability, even when it's young, yeah, then you have to go for Zweigelt. And this one shows it perfectly. And the second thing what it shows perfectly is that it comes from a single vineyard, because the quality level on the palate is really, really high. It's so dense. It's so structured. It's coming all together. It's the fruitiness, it's this herbal aromas again, it's the oakiness, which is already good integrated, it's this coffee aromas, it's the complexity developing, and in the end, in the finish, for me, it's a really smooth and long and enjoyable finish from this Zweigelt Ried Goldberg 2017. So a nice glass of good red wine with a lot of fruitiness, but a very good structure, and I would really say another 10 years, 15 years, why not for this wine? It's for sure doable. In terms of fitting to some meals, some cooking, I would go for lamb. I would go for meat. I would go even for venison, which is, as said, the season right now. For me, really very well done Zweigelt on a very, very high quality level. And it shows the potential on Zweigelt if you do proper pruning, if you do proper vineyard management and proper cellar management at the end of the day for this wine. Looking on the second wine in this flight, it's again a Neusiedlersee DSC reserve, Zweigelt Ried Römerstein. Yeah? But this one now is coming from the area of Apethlon, which is again Neusiedlersee. But if you just have in mind how this region of Neusiedlersee looked like, this very up north there, Gols is in the very north of Neusiedlersee, and Apethlon is exactly or almost exactly in the middle of Neusiedlersee. So it's one of the hottest spots there, the driest spots compared to Gols even. And this difference should now be visible in this Zweigelt Ried Römerstein. Again, single vineyard, Römerstein, the name for this vineyard, and it's a reserve. So again, oak is very welcome on this wine. Looking on the color, mine has even got deeper color, so it looks like being a little bit younger. Yeah, 2018 we do have here in the glass. Deep purple color, the nose. Yeah, this is 18 in the nose. So there's of course this cherry aroma still here, but for me this herbiness, which is developing when the Zweigelt gets really, really ripe, is more upfront compared to the wine number 1. Yeah, and 18 was a warmer year, was a riper year, so this fits quite well to this imagination here. So we have this herbiness, we have cherry aroma, we got a touch of balsamic aromas in there, a lees aroma. So quite interesting approach for this wine. Let's taste. Yeah, this wine is dry as well. In the difference to the wine before, the oak, the roasted aromas, is by far not so evident than the oak aroma on the very first wine. So the portion of new oak in this wine has been much lower than on the other wine, but the principal key aspects of Zweigelt are still here. It's a moderate acidity. It's a very good, rounded, nice, appealing tannin in this wine. It's a lot of fruitiness. It might be, from the impression point of view, maybe not that dense than the wine before, although you can see in the finish that it has more elegancy in the finish compared to the wine before. So this is more a Zweigelt being on the elegant side, on a high quality level. Acidity is a little bit lower than the wine before, but still enough to keep the balance, to refresh the whole thing here. And by the way, this acidity, this 4.5 grams per liter, is 2018. This is typical for 2018, where the sugar levels have been rising like hell, and of course acidity was going down on the other side. But this winery Münzenrieder, did a very, very good job on this Zweigelt and really made the most out of it. Very good DSC reserve level Zweigelt, and I would like to have this to traditional Austrian kitchen, like a beef, for example, would fit quite well. But as well, even this typically Italian kitchen, yeah, some noodles with meaty pasta and things like this. Yeah, this would really fit perfectly to this wine. So chilled Zweigelt, the first and the second one on the reserve level. Both of them can keep for a couple of years for sure, and will make a lot of fun in drinkability. And the big difference here to the Blaufränkisch before is the acidity and the tannin structure, beside the fruitiness of both wines in there. As a complete different thing, I included here a wine called St. Georg Reserve 2017. SL and PN are the acronyms for St. Laurent and Pinot Noir. It's coming from the winery Juris, from the region of Neusiedlersee in Gols, where we had before the Goldberg wine, and it's a Pinot family wine. And Mr. Juris is quite famous for his Pinot wines. So let's taste this wine here, coming from the very same region as the Zweigelts before. Yeah. Quite dense color, good color. So this comes from the St. Laurent. This is quite clear. Just a small rim in there in the nose. Yeah, in the nose, for me, it's a little bit balsamic notes. It's a little bit of dark cherries, a little touch of berries aroma coming from the St. Laurent. But on the other side, I do have this velvet aromas, this flowery aromas, together with a touch of gamey aromas, most likely coming from the Pinot Noir, which makes the nose really, really interesting on this wine. All supported by a hint of oak in this wine. Not too much, but just a little bit of new fresh oak, maybe compared with a bigger oak treatment and then blended together again at the end. By the way, the name St. Georg, Juris, the name of the winery, relates to Georg, and a lot of family members are named Georg in there, so this is the reason why it's called St. Georg. Yeah, tasting this wine. Again, if you now compare it to the Zweigelt before, yeah, it's dry, yeah, but acidity is much more visible on this wine. This is the acidity coming from the Pinot Noir, making the freshness. On the other side, we get a little bit broader impression on the palate of this wine, a more fruity, a more berry aroma coming from the St. Laurent. Sometimes St. Laurent develops even so cooked cherry aromas, which I cannot feel in this wine here. Refreshing balance, the tannins, they are here. They are much more bolder compared to the Zweigelt before, but less bold than the Blaufränkisch before. So it's something in between. And the combination from the St. Laurent tannins, which are more fleshy, and the Pinot Noir tannins, which are a little bit more crispy and spicy, but maybe polished a little bit, yeah, is a perfect sign for this wine, together with the oak treatment. So it's round, it's soft, it's very nice drinkable, but you feel you had a very good wine in your mouth, with a lot of roundness and drinkability. And what I like very much on this wine is the finish. For me, this wine has got a very, very long finish, quite elegant finish, and the last of this, what I personally like much on the Pinot side, is this gaminess. Yeah, so it's gamey. It's fits quite well to beef, to lamb, to wild pork. Yeah, which is again right now the season for wild pork. So I would like to get this wine together with this food, and it makes a total perfect enjoyment on this wine. So we saw the difference now. Blaufränkisch, the more robust; Zweigelt, the more charming, rounded wine; and St. Laurent Pinot Noir, something in between. So there is something for everybody in this wine on really, really good quality level. Yeah, and another tradition in Burgenland is not only single varietal wines or varietal wines depending on the family of the grapes, but it's the international grape varieties. And I told you before, the Mittelburgenland area is quite famous, beside the Neusiedlersee area, for this international variety. So we've got in glass number 4 from the winery Gaga from Deutschkreuz, Cuvée Quattro 2018. Quattro stands for the 4 varieties which are in this blend. It's Blaufränkisch, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Zweigelt, which is in there. It's about 30% Blaufränkisch, 30% Cabernet, 20% Merlot, and 20% Zweigelt. This wine has been aged in new French oak for 1.5 years, roughly, and it's the Austrian international blend from this winery. So let's taste this wine. Yeah, very deep color, almost dark black. I can't see through this wine. In the nose, a lot of fruitiness. I can feel there is this typical Cabernet aroma, this cassis, so black. This cassis aroma. We've got some blackberries in here. We got the cherry. We got the oak. Yeah, the roasted aromas, a coffee, a dark chocolate, even a hint of rum pot. Yeah, so you know these fruits which are laid down in rum for a certain time. Yeah, and then you get it. We have the oak I mentioned already. A meatiness is in there, as well as an earthy touch. So this one is a really complex nose for me on this wine, which really fits quite well to the blend, to the Cuvée Quattro. So the Blaufränkisch gives normally the acidity and this more black fruit flavor. The Cabernet, of course, the freshness to the acidity, but this cassis and black currant aroma. The Merlot gives the power, especially on the alcohol side, and the Zweigelt adds the color and the fruitiness into this blend. Let's taste. The wine is dry, a lot of tannins, so it's the wine with most tannins we had so far, at least to my impression here. The tannins are ripe, it's 2018, so no wonder. They are fleshy, they are round, they are bold, so it needs some time to be integrated, but there's still a lot of fruit on the palate. We do have this coffee, this chocolate, we do have even a hint of spiciness now in this wine. It's robust, it's full-bodied for me. It has got a very, very good finish with a lot of fruitiness coming back with the roasted aromas from the oak. So it's a lot of fun having this international style of cuvée, of blend in the glass. And for me, it's a perfect combination from Austrian varieties and international varieties. So if you want to compare the Austrian varieties with international varieties, the Blaufränkisch is our Cabernet and the Zweigelt is our Merlot in comparison. And normally the typical Austrian blend would be Blaufränkisch with Zweigelt, as the typically international blend is Cabernet with Merlot. Just think about Bordeaux. Yeah, and this is now two strong partners with two more soft partners, if you want to name it like that. Makes the perfect mix and match for a complex wine which can age for years and makes a lot of fun to be drunk young as well as when it's aged in there. So with this slide I showed you the difference on varieties. We were going from Zweigelt to St. Laurent Pinot Noir to a blend with international varieties, and this is what Burgenland is all about when it comes to red. So all the varieties, full-bodied wines, tannin-oriented wines, red wines with acidity, smooth wines, round wines, nice drinkable wines. So everything what you can expect from a glass of red wine you can get here in Burgenland. And beside the white wines and the red wines, we do have one thing we should not miss at all, and this is traditional for Burgenland, it's the sweet wine. And this is now the last flight, and you are lucky, to be honest, because normally we are doing just 4 wines on the sweet flight, but this time we can show you 5 wines on the sweet wines. And why that's the case? Because one of the wineries, the winery Kracher in that sense, sent us the Welschriesling, which was the very first wine in the beginning. And on top, he sent us his sweet wine, the Beerenauslese Cuvée, which we normally have in our sweet wine flights. And we just decided to include it, to have now 5 sweet wines. So it's all done for you. And you will see it's a really good wine. We should not miss it. And Mr. Kracher is quite well known as well. So, talking about sweet wine, I just pour the glasses and then we can go into details on the sweet wines. From the wine law point of view in Austria, sweet wine starts with the category of Spätlese. After Spätlese, we got the category of Auslese, which is even more sweeter. Then we've got the category of Beerenauslese, again sweeter, but already with some botrytis included. And after Beerenauslese, we've got the category of Trockenbeerenauslese. There is almost 100% of botrytis on the grapes. There are some special things, as I mentioned before, Rusterausbruch, which is a Trockenbeere category just for the city of Rust, with a difference in style, and that's the reason why I'm showing this here as well, together with the Trockenbeerenauslese. And on the same level as Beerenauslese, but without botrytis, we have 2 wines. They are called Eiswein or Strohwein or Schilfwein, like the Vin Santo in Italy. The Spätlese and Auslese category, we call it, it's the fruit sweet wine, because it's mainly about fruitiness. The wines are normally treated in stainless steel, so just to keep the fruitiness, to keep the freshness of the wines. And the variety is quite important. And from Beerenlese onwards, the people, beside the fact of Muscat or Sauvignon, the people are more tending towards the French oak barrels to really make it complex in the terms of palate and balance and typicity of the wines. So let's start with the Spätlese 2019 Welschriesling, the winery Wendin in Golz, so it's in the area of Neusiedlersee, and most of the sweet wines are coming from the area of Neusiedlersee in Burgenland. You can see the figures. We talk about 84 grams per liter on residual sugar in this wine. So this is unfermented sugar from the must, which was there in the grapes already. The alcohol level is about 8%, and this is quite normal for a sweet wine from the eastern part of the lake of Neusiedl. There normally the alcohol levels are lower compared to the sweet wines, the alcohol levels on the western part of the lake. Acidity with 6 grams per liter is about fine. So we got a touch of golden color in this glass. In the nose, for me, it's a lot of fruit. It's very ripe apple. It's even a touch of pineapple there. It's a herbal aroma. It's hints of honey there, of flower honey. We got a touch of grassiness. We got a touch of dried fruits. So this is a fruit-oriented wine. Let's taste. Yeah. what you can feel immediately, there's a low alcohol, so it does not get warm in the finish, in the back. But on the other side, 84 grams of sugar, you can't feel that. And this is the reason for having 6 grams per liter acidity. So the acidity is buffering the sugar level. And as I told you in the very beginning, this is one of the most important things on sweet wines, that the acidity is buffering the residual sugar. On the palate, we have a lot of fruit again, ripe fruit, sweet fruit, dried fruits, some exotic flavor comes on top now. On the palate, beside the honey, a herbal aroma comes on top. We have this cressiness, we have the ripe apples aromas, we have the pineapple aromas in there. So it's a nice, very nice sweet wine, a Spätlese wine, which really fits well to the Austrian cuisine. You know, we in Austria we do have the sweet courses, even as the main courses, yeah, like pancakes or Palatschinken, as we call it. So this, or Topfenstrudel, yeah, cream strudel, yeah. So this would be a perfect combination to have a Spätlese or Auslese wine together with our sweet courses, because the sweetness is not too high, but there's a lot of fruitiness which really fits perfectly to the sweet dishes here in Austria served. And you will see later on in the year, we will have new wine category called Neusiedlersee DRC Fruchtsüß or Neusiedlersee DRC Edelsüß. So this category of wine will be part of the Neusiedlersee DRC classification as well on the long run. So for me, this is a very nice, drinkable sweet wine, and everybody who's saying I don't like sweet wines, I think should taste this wine, because this is really a very nice balance and freshness. Going a step further, now we talk about Botrytis, and this is the wine which comes on top, the Bernauslese Cuvée 2017 from the winery of Kracher. It's a cuvée made out of Welsh Riesling and Chardonnay. It's 60% Welsh Riesling, it's 40% of Chardonnay. It's aged in 85% stainless steel, and 15% is aged in oak barrels. So it's about the combination of the two things. Residual sugar 133 grams per liter, but look at the acidity, 6.3 grams per liter. Yeah, so we should have a perfect balance again. So let's taste. For me, the wine has got a very deep golden color in my glass. In the nose, you can immediately taste or nose that it's a sweet wine. You have this typically marmalade aroma, which comes from the Botrytis. So if I talk about marmalade, I talk about orange marmalade. Somebody says honey aroma is typical for Botrytis. Some say bread crust is typical for Botrytis. For me, is it this marmalade aroma? I've got dried fruits. I've got very sophisticated Provence herbal aromatics in this wine. Exotic fruit like mango, lychee, papaya. Really nice flavored. Let's taste. Yeah. Hey, here you can taste this wine is sweet, but again, it's not gluey. It's sweet, buffered by a very good acidity. So it's a fresh Bernauslese with, of course, a higher sugar than the wine before. This you can feel, but a lot of fruitiness is in there, a lot of freshness coming from the acidity. We have the honey aroma again, we have this herbal aroma, we have this dried fruit aroma, the exotic fruit aroma, a good deep deepness on the palate, and a very smooth finish, yeah, a very long finish. And the positive thing here on this sweet wine, and this shows the quality of this wine, is the finish is not all about sugar. The finish is about fruit, the finish is about balance, the finish is about freshness. We even get a touch of citrus aromas in the finish, which really lifts the feeling on the palate. And this is it exactly what makes a sweet wine a high quality sweet wine, like the one we have in the glass in front of us. Going from the Beerenauslese to the category of Trockenbeerenauslese. So the next wine is the Rusterausbruch 2018. This one is a blend between Welsh Riesling, Chardonnay, Furmint, which is the Austrian or the Hungarian originated variety, traditional, planted in Rust area for Rusterausbruch. And the last variety which is in there is TR, so it's Traminer. Maybe you know this wine with this roses aroma. Yeah, this is Traminer, coming from the southern Alto Adige region in Italy, from the city of Tramin. Rusterausbruch, 278 grams of liter sugar. And look on the acidity, 10.4 grams of liter of acidity. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to taste this wine here. Golden even amber color in my glass for this wine. In the nose, like the wine before, we've got the botrytis even more. We got the dried fruit aromas, the marmalade, the exotic flavor, even a candy aroma. So the candies I used to enjoy when I was young. Orange peel, orange skin. It a little bit reminds me of Christmas on the on this cinnamon taste I have in mind now. Touch of gingerbread is in there. Oak, vanilla, touch of vanilla. I have in there, but I doubt this is coming from oak. I think this is the Traminer influence on this wine. On the palate, again, sugar level is going up. You can taste this one. Maybe this is already too much for some of the people, but still, it's fresh. It's fresh on the palate. This acidity keeps it really alive, this wine, and buffers perfectly this 278 grams per liter of sugar in this wine. We have this freshness, we have this apricot aroma on the palate. We have the herbal aromas, we have the marmalade, the botrytis, a very long, smooth finish with a soft appeal, going down like honey, yeah, but not as dense as honey. So it's a high quality honey, drinkable honey in the due to the botrytis, all lifted with a very, very intense fruit aroma, a nice balance between this, exotic flavor, orange peel flavor, herbal flavor, and this flowery flavor as well coming from the Traminer in this blend. So this wine is one of the very best examples from Rusterausbruch. And of course, it's just available in limited numbers, as you might imagine. The botrytis, we do have botrytis almost every year, but the amount you can get from 1 hectare of vineyards of botrytis is just limited. So quite often, producers are just doing 1 or 2 or maybe 3 of the small barrique barrels, 225 liters in 1 year of Rusterausbruch or of Trockenbeerenauslese on the other side of the lake. So it's a rarity. And you can enjoy it. The good thing is, once you open the bottle, you can enjoy it over 2 weeks, 3 weeks, keeping it open. It will not be destroyed. Yeah? It can keep up for that long and keep the freshness, and still makes a lot of fun. So the Rusterausbruch on the western side of the Lake of Neusiedl, from the city of Rust, from Günther and Regina Triebaumer. The winery here, going to another city which is on the western side of the lake. It's called Großhöflein. This is a small city just beside the capital of Burgenland, Eisenstadt. It's the Trockenbeerenauslese, that's what TBA stands for. Semling or Scheurebe 88, 2017 from the winery Leber. So even more sugar, yeah, 270, acidity a little bit lower, 9.5, but this is again a very, very good acidity level. And Semling, you will smell it again or immediately, is always the more fruity type of sweet wine. So normally you drink Semling a little bit younger as a sweet wine compared to other sweet wines, Trockenbeerenauslese, Welschriesling, for example, or Ausbruch from Furmint. But let's see how this one shows up. So the color is golden, touch of amber in there, not that much like the Ruster Ausbruch before. Yeah, knows it, just knows it. Yeah, this is a very outgoing, outspoken nose. Flowery flavor, apricot flavor, peach flavor for me in this wine. A touch of waxiness I've got, which makes it interesting, like candlelight. Yeah. Oak, vanilla oak in this wine. I think this wine was even fermented in oak because of the level of the vanilla in there. Exotic flavor, together with a touch of, yeah, we call it Brennnessel. I don't know the word in English right now, but very, very multi-flavored wine on the fruity side. Let's taste. Yeah, it's botrytis, yeah, on the palate even more than on the nose, but still the freshness of the acidity, the freshness of the flavor. It's, for me, it's this apricot and peach flavor which comes up front in here, together with the waxiness on the palate, with the high level of sugar buffered with the citrus freshness from the acidity. A really, really good balance. This wine, like the wine before, the Ausbruch, you can keep it for decades, so 30, 40, 50 years is no problem for such a wine to stand in. It's really nice to drink right now. It's sweet, of course, but as said, it's fresh. The finish on this wine is, for me, even longer than on the Ruster Ausbruch before, which had a long finish as well. What I like on this one is the fruitiness compared to the structure of the Ausbruch from before. So these are two different types of sweet wines for me, although having almost the same amount of residual sugar. But the one is the fruity oriented wine, and the other one is the wine which works on the palate, on the freshness, and on more on the botrytis side. Yeah, this wine is really good. You should treat those wines like medicine, you know. When you open it every day in the evening, a small glass, enjoy it, and you will not get sick. So this is a kind of a medicine. I don't know if it's true, but a lot of people are saying that, and I believe in that. So let's drink more sweet wine in the world. Yeah, and now that we get a little bit more refreshment, I would say, on the palate, I included a rarity in this flight. It's from the winery Lang in Illmitz, which is again in the region of Neusiedlersee. Eiswein Gold Muscatella 2019. So, Eiswein, according to the Austrian wine law, Eiswein is defined that the grapes, when they are harvested and when they are pressed in the winery, they have to be frozen. So the water is frozen in there, which stays in the press, and the pure extract runs out of the press, is then fermented to the wine, to the Eiswein. The picture up there in the slide is showing exactly the date when this wine was harvested. It was harvested on the 11th of January 2020. Yeah, of course the vintage is 2019, as the grapes were growing the year before. And Gold Muscatella is part of the family of Muscatella, so of Gelber Muscatella, Muscat Ottanel, Muscat de Alexandria is one of this family. And Gold Muscatella is a quality variety since 1 year. So it's really, really new, really, really fresh. Eiswein is comparable with the category of Beerenauslese, but just without botrytis. So there is not any botrytis in this Eiswein. So it has to be healthy grapes when they are frozen, which is quite tricky, of course. You can imagine until January, that can happen quite a lot during winter times. Therefore, the sugar level is lower compared to Ausbruch or Trockenbeerenauslese. Acidity is a little bit lower, but it's a fruit-oriented wine. Let's see if this is true. So the color is more on the golden side again, not that deep anymore like with Trockenbeerenauslese or Ausbruch before. This is clearly due to the density of the wine, of the must. In the nose, yeah, smell this nose. Yeah, it's nothing about honey. It's nothing about marmalade flavor. So there was no botrytis in this wine. It's about fruit. It's about freshness. It's citrus aroma there. It's about muscat aroma. It's about grape beer aromas. This wine has not seen any French oak, so it's stainless steel to keep the freshness, to keep the fruitiness of this wine, which is really, really important. Yeah, a touch of pineapple I got, but no intense nose of exotic flavor like with the botrytis wine. So it's really the primary aromas from the grapes are coming dominant in your nose. Taste the wine. On the palate, for me, it's a typical Muscatella grape, and Gold Muscatella is the variety in the family which does have the most intensive Muscatella flavor, even more than Gelber Muscatella, which comes through in this taste on the palate. It's sweet, of course, but we do have again this acidity, which is a quite good buffer in here. But it's fruity. It's not that dense on the palate. It's a medium weight bodied, a medium length ice wine, but it's fresh. It's pure fruit. It's muscat fruit in there, and I like this, especially this balance between the acidity, the alcohol, and the residual sugar, which is perfectly done on this wine, together with this typical ice wine touch I always get in this kind of wines. I don't know if you get it in Poland as well, but we do have candies which are called Eiszapfen. Yeah, and this Eiszapfen, they do have the very same taste like this wine. And for me, this is a key identifier for ice wine when tasting blind. I like this very much, and I think this is a very, very good ending for this short course on Burgenland wines, ending with a not so sweet wine, but with a rarity, with ice wine. So just to mention, 2019, I think it was about 5 producers in Austria who were, or in Burgenland area, who were able to do ice wine, because it's going warmer and warmer and warmer, and the times when the wine is frozen or the grapes are frozen are not that regular anymore. According to the wine law, the grapes, when they are in the press, when they are frozen, they have to have -7 degrees. And that's the reason why the wineries or the pickers are going out in the night time, so 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, delivering the grapes at 7 o'clock in the morning into the winery when it's still cold enough to have the grapes frozen. Because once the grapes are starting to get unfrozen, you're not allowed to call it ice wine anymore, and you have to declassify, and you're not can charge the price you want to charge for this wine, and the risk for sure. Because imagine again, January harvest time, until then healthy grapes, freezing. So there are a lot of factors which make it really hard to produce ice wine, and this just justifies the price level of the wine. And compared to international sweet wine, Austrian sweet wine is on the cheaper side. So many thanks from my side for listening. Many thanks for joining in tasting the wines from Burgenland area. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to put it into the chat. I'm here to answer. No problem, no doubt about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, yes, I agree on the favorites. Yes, you're right, Ivana. Bitteschön. Yeah, what I did not mention is on some wines on the slides we had the importers in Poland included. The ones where we did not show any importer so far, those wineries, of course, they would like to export to Poland. They are looking for an importer there. So if you're interested, of course, never mind going in directly contact with those wineries and just referring to this masterclass that they know what we are doing here. Okay, Jan, I see it should be a question, right? Yes, yes, I will share the presentation later on and Piotr will share it to you all. Yeah, there's just see a comment about the acidity in the reds. Of course, it depends what you like and what you want to look for. But I think on the Blaufränkisch, acidity was quite on a good level. Some people consider the other reds having a lower acidity level, and there is a trend now on the red side going to have a more polished acidity. Let's put it like this. And yeah, let's see how it's going. You know, it's going to be warmer and warmer. Acidity is going down. So we are working on the vineyards to get it up again. But future will show you that freshness will be there.
Thank you very much, Georg. It was
Welcome.
very, very interesting as a presentation. And for those who survived the first part, invite you for tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I like the Vincent reader, I have to say.
Sorry, which one?
Vincent reader.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, you know, I thought they'd bring up something new this time, which you don't know. Yeah. And yeah,
Because Vincent reader, to me, Vincent reader never was, this one was fresh, fruity, and perhaps it's not my style of wine, but really something something new, something to discover.
yeah, exactly. It's not mainstream, by far not.
Yeah, but new to him. I mean, this is something. Well, yeah. So thank you very much, and see you all tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you. See you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.